You know those horror movies that start off with a group of people going somewhere to reconnect? Well, that's The Ritual, the movie that I'm going to be talking about today. But instead of ending up in some cozy cabin where things go slightly weird, this one takes a sharp left turn into Scandinavian nightmare territory, and I feel like this movie in every single way is underrated. Nobody talks about this movie, and I have watched it a couple of times, and even when I see like a top 10 list, I never see this movie mentioned, and I feel like more people need to talk about this movie or watch it. It's incredible. Directed by David Bruckner, The Ritual follows four friends hiking through the Swedish wilderness to honor their dead friend Rob. It's one of those setups that feels familiar. Grief, guilt, and a group of emotionally repressed British men trying to bond in the woods, aka pretending your emotions are not real and just running from them. But what makes this film stand out is how it slowly turns that simple premise into something genuinely disturbing and deeply psychological. There's something just a little bit different about this movie that just passes all the other generic movies in the woods about a group of people, all that sort of stuff. It just, all those movies are here. This movie is like here. From the very beginning, there's this thick sense of unease. The forest feels alive, watching, and waiting, and the cinematography plays a huge role in that because everything is drenched in fog, the trees stretch endlessly, and the sound design constantly reminds you that you are alone. And it's interesting because this movie feels claustrophobic in the most open setting imaginable, and I think that's quite an achievement. It's quite impressive. And I feel like the best part of this movie is that this film actually earns its scares. There's no over-reliance on jump scares. This movie is more about the dread. Every branch snap, every weird rune carved into the tree, every dream sequence that blends trauma with reality. It builds and builds until the horror becomes more internal than external. And speaking of trauma, The Ritual is as much about grief as it is about monsters. The lead character, Luke, carries this crushing guilt for surviving a convenience store robbery where his friend was killed. And that guilt haunts him, literally and metaphorically, throughout the entire film. And what feels incredible is how the forest becomes this physical manifestation of his guilt, twisting his memories, forcing him to relive his trauma in ways that feel both supernatural and painfully human. And I feel like the performances in this movie are extremely solid, especially from Luke, who manages to look both terrified and quietly broken throughout the entire film. And the group dynamic also feels very real. They bicker, they blame, they fall out all the time, and it's that realism that makes the later horror sequences hit harder. I feel like you actually believe these people, which is almost rare in horror movies. Like, I had a weird emotional attachment to this group of friends. And without giving too much away, because I really do think you should just go and watch this movie if you've never seen it before, let's talk about the creature, because The Ritual gives us one of the most unique monster designs in modern horror. Well, maybe not the most unique, maybe I'm just kind of like slightly exaggerating it here, but it's really cool. It's sick. It's not your typical demon or a ghost, and it's not a slasher. It's something ancient, rooted in Norse mythology, and the way it's revealed, piece by piece, glimpse by glimpse, is so cool. I love it. And by the time you see it in full, it's both terrifying and awe-inspiring, like something that shouldn't exist, but somehow does. If you're somebody who loves horror movies that are more atmospheric and psychological, something that sticks with you rather than just shocks you, The Ritual is a must watch. It feels like a mix of The Blair Witch, Midsommar, and The Descent, but it still manages to feel quite unique. It's about guilt, masculinity, and how people cope, or maybe fail to cope. I also love that this movie does not over explain itself. If you know me, once again, movies that just paint the entire picture for you. Because sometimes not knowing is like the best thing ever. Like you walk away from a movie and you're just thinking like how, what, where, like it just sticks with you all night. And I think the best horror movies do that to you. And I think this movie does that because you get just enough mythology to make sense of what's happening, but not enough to kill the mystery. And I feel like some people might find the ending a little bit abrupt, but I think it works perfectly. It's kind of like, well, I'm not actually going to tell you because you should go watch it. So if you're looking for a movie that is more emotionally intelligent than it has any right to be, I think The Ritual deserves your time. And it has that lingering unease that will make you think twice about hiking through the woods. Again, I have never hiked through the woods, and whenever I watched this movie, I was like, it's never happening now because this is absolutely terrifying. This movie also kind of reminds me of the movie Caliber. I don't know if anybody has ever watched that movie. Maybe I'll make a separate video about that movie. Caliber, do you know that movie? Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off track. I think you should go watch this film. It's really, really sick. And I just literally, this video, just wanted to recommend you a good movie. Don't want it to be overly long. Just to feel like a movie people should watch. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and bye bye.